Hi everyone, thank you for stopping by. If you're a parent, you're going to understand my joy that summer vacation's almost over, right? Because it is no vacation for us. So anyway, we're looking at the beginning of August and I'm ready. I hope some of you have gotten to do at least some things that grown-ups enjoy doing. Something kind of cool that I got to participate in and that motivated this video was to go to a seminar about a psychologist named Viktor Frankl. He was of the same generation as Freud, and he and Freud actually didn't agree on much. He's way more of a humanist, where he's more about the human and the feelings about people and why we do what we do. And the why is what's so interesting to me, and it ties in so well with my approach to things of being honest, be authentic, just tell the truth. And so much about telling our truth and being authentic and showing up for people as the real us is to be clear about our whys. So I really like the idea of looking at why we do what we do, why we are at the jobs we're at, why we majored in what we majored in, why we choose the people we choose to spend time with. Even when they're bad to us, even when they're bad for us, we choose to be with them. You know, why is that? What weird little time bomb is that in us that's waiting to go off if we hang around a person long enough who treats us badly? And of course, the big one is, why are we in a relationship, an intimate relationship, with the person that we're with? Why did we marry this particular person? And then why do we remain married to that person a few years down the road? And what really brought this for me was, of course, my own experience of, after almost 20 years, looking at why am I still here, and what it later brought was that it was time for me to go, but that's not necessarily everybody's story. But a good friend of mine this week shared with me that she and her husband, they were so brave, and she had a moment of, I need some honesty. And she pulled him aside and said the scary thing that she's having to revisit why she's still in the marriage, and that it would be a good idea probably for him to do the same thing. And she, it's not that she doesn't love him or that she doesn't want to be together at this point, but she needs to figure out why she's still coming, showing up to the marriage every day. And suggested that to him, like, let's look at our whys. We were in this 10 plus years, we have a couple of kids. Let's not make the kids our reason. That's not allowed as a major reason. Of course, it's in there, but we need some other stuff. And they proceeded to have this amazing half-hour conversation, of course, before it was interrupted by the kids. And it was uncomfortable as hell, she says, and he didn't quite know how to process it at first. And then he got on board and was actually really relieved that she brought it up, because he unburdened himself of some things that he'd been sitting on for almost the entire marriage. And so it was this amazing, cleansing, clearing conversation. They didn't fix anything, of course, but here's the important part is how much better they both felt after the conversation. How honesty makes you feel lighter. They felt so much lighter and still do. They know they've got definitely work to do and figuring out to do. But the part that's so great is that they've now allowed for change to come in. I mean, for us to just constantly, every day, lament, I'm not really that happy, something's off, we should probably have a talk, but I don't want to have the talk because that'll be so uncomfortable. And so we just whine about everything internally, but we don't actually put some skin in the game, take a risk, and ask a hard question. How can we expect change if we're not willing to co-create that change and to show up for it? And it did bring to mind the gal that asked me a couple of months ago, how did you know it was time to leave your marriage? And she's not the only one. I've had other people ask me this, but she's the most recent. And I'm thinking, what more perfect opportunity and motivation can there be for her to have this conversation? When you start questioning, how would I know when it's time to leave? Evaluate your why are you there? Same with a job. If every day you have to convince yourself to show up at the job you're at, you might want to look at why you're still there, aside from having to pay the bills, right? And we all, of course, have to work to pay the bills, but we have choices of where we do that. and how we earn a living, most of us. I've been in a position where I didn't have a choice in the moment, but I did at some point. You have to keep revisiting your whys. Why am I still here? Why am I still suffering? Do I have a choice about this? Not yet. Another month goes by. Why am I still here? I'm still really miserable. Oh, but this has changed and this has changed. I have some options now. Let me look at that. There's so much freedom and potential freedom to be found in asking the whys. And in the spirit of self-disclosure and participating in this process that I'm suggesting to everyone, I get asked a lot, so why don't you date? But I notice that other people don't get asked, why do you date? Right? It's really weird. It's just something I've noticed. And I have my reasons for it, just like people who do date. I go out in life, I participate in life, I show up at events, I meet new people, but I'm not actively hunting for a mate. I just believe it will come to me when it's right and it'll be the right person. But I do have to keep showing up in life. I get that. But one of my reasons, one of my whys, that I don't so actively go out there and am on the hunt is my 13-year-old daughter. I am very concerned I would bring someone into my home that would be damaging to her, might be a predator. And even if it's not that severe, just someone that's really unhealthy, maybe has kids of his own that are not in great shape, that there's an ex-wife to contend with, and then my daughter gets sucked into all of that. So she's one of my big whys, not the only one, but a big one. But here's where I need to be careful, right? I can't make her my excuse to not go out there and participate in life. So every once in a while, I absolutely do an internal inventory of how are all my other reasons stacking up in my approach to love in life. Is it all about my kid? Am I using her as an excuse? Or is that still legit? You know, and I'll even run it past people in the interest of keeping it real with myself. So I absolutely recommend that we revisit our whys on a regular basis because life changes, right? Feelings change, the cast of characters in our lives change. The whys remain an absolutely crucial piece to being authentic and to being in your authenticity, to being genuine, to showing up in your life as the real you, and showing up for people as the real you, and showing up in your marriage honestly and with integrity, in your long-term romance, in your live-in relationships, in your work relationships. The boss thinks you're loving your job and you're constantly plotting how you're going to get out. You don't even want to give notice you hate it so much, and your boss has no idea because you're avoiding your internal inventory of why am I continuing to subject myself to being so unhappy every day when I do have options. So that is my offering this time around, is to really encourage you and support you and all of us to look at our whys and what the agendas are behind those, what's our intentions in our whys, how does that affect the other people that are involved in our lives and are subject to our whys, right? Everybody's subject to what we decide for ourselves. We pull other people into that. Let's play fair, as I always recommend. Be fair, be honest, respect other people's time as much as your own, and live a good life. If you can be happier, be happier. Often our happiness is very closely tied to our whys. All right, I'll stop there. Thank you for listening. Have a great week, and I will see you next time.